in a condominium and you have a company that is your condominium, that's, excuse me, a not-for-profit company. If you are, Locust Projects is a not-for-profit company, but then, and I was there at the creation, I formed it many moons ago. But there's another step that you take if you want to be what you're asking, a 501c3, which is a company, excuse me, anybody can form a not-for-profit company. You can do it tomorrow. All that is a vehicle for doing business as a not-for-profit company. There are certain things that you have to put in the articles of the corporation. You have to decide if you're going to be a membership company or a non-member company. We at Locust we don't have members. We don't have people like the Boy Scouts have members. A lot of churches have members, and maybe they get certificates, maybe they don't. But for the most part, not-for-profit companies have a board of directors. It's generally a little bit incestuous because it's virtually self-perpetuating. There's rules about who can be on the board and who's not on the board, but they don't usually have members who elect who the board of directors are, although you can do that. Now, once you set up your not-for-profit company, and unless I'm not sure, does anybody here have a not-for-profit company that they've set up for themselves? I don't mean legal art, and I don't mean Locust, because I know why they're set up. Yeah.
Well, I kind of did part of it.
Wait, speak loud.
I did a long time ago because when I first started researching a lot of times you get access to money affiliated.
Oh, yes. But I don't think there's any reason why anyone would set up a not-for-profit if you're going to be using it for your company as an artist. There may be some reasons, but if you're going to be doing business, I don't think you would be setting a not-for-profit company up. But in any event, if you are, and let's say for the reason that you were setting it up, if you then file with the Internal Revenues with the IRS as a 501c3, this is the hard part. In fact, it took us a long time for Locust to get its 501c3 status. What you're able to do once you set up the not-for-profit company, and again, it's a very simple thing. I just did one a few weeks ago for some woman who was setting up a church, she said, a not-for-profit company, and she didn't want to go for the 501c3 because getting a 501c3 designation is it can be difficult. For the most part, if it's a church or a temple or a synagogue, and for the most part, it goes through fairly quickly because the IRS recognizes these and knows these. But the 501c3 for other organizations, they do look at these things very closely, and they look to see what it is that they're doing. They want to make sure that it's not for the benefit of any few individuals. Because some people set them up and they're buying a job. But what it enables you to do, and what it probably enabled people to do for you, was they could donate money to this entity, this not-for-profit in Florida, and if you have the 501c3 designation that you get from the Internal Revenue Service, it enables you to take a deduction on your income taxes for the donor. So it makes it, very good. When we at Locust go to somebody and say, give us your money, a lot of times they want to know that we're a 501c3 organization because we're able to take a deduction for it. Your condominium association goes to you for the same thing. They're not a 501c3, although they are a not-for-profit company. So they are, you're not able to take a tax deduction for it. And the other thing is when you see the tax deductions, the responsible 501c3s, well, virtually all of them now, because they're very closely regulated, when you give $200 for a dinner that they're having a fundraising dinner, you'll usually see on it that $125 of this is tax deductible because $75 is really the price of the dinner. So the way it works from getting here to there, if you want to set up a not-for-profit, you set up your Florida not-for-profit company. There are certain things that you have to have in it. You have to have the, what the company is for, what it's all about. You have to put in there that if you dissolve the company, that any assets that you have don't go to the benefit of the individuals who set it up, but go to another, for example, art group. If Legal Art dissolved for one reason or another, and they had all of these assets and their building and everything else, it would have to go to another not-for-profit, and that's in the article of incorporation, the articles of incorporation. The next step is to file with the Internal Revenue Service for a 501c3 organization, as a 501c3 organization. And this is a fairly involved, were you involved with it when you did it, Carolina?
Yes, I started it.
And you filed with the IRS?
Yes.
So you know the kinds of things that you have to do. And they ask you all these questions about what you've done, how you're going to be raising money, what you're going to be doing. They want a budget for the next 2 years. And usually, I've had people come in because I do them for the group called Put Something Back, which is a group that the Florida Bar has. And they send people to me for nonprofits. And a lot of times after I go and explain to them what the 501c3 requirements are to be able to do this, their eyes glaze over and they sort of say, well, it's nice knowing you, and then off they go, because you usually should get an accountant. You can do it all yourself, just like you can do anything yourself, but you should get an accountant, and I know accountants that have specialized in this. We just did one for somebody setting up for donations for Latin America, and we just got the 501c3, but we have an accountant who is who does these on a regular basis, and you file this with the IRS, and they're going to come back with questions. They're going to come back and ask you all of these things, and then you have to refile. And soon, hopefully, you'll get your 501c3 designation. When you start your nonprofit, you can take donations, and you'll get a deduction if you get your 501c3 designation. It goes back to the time that you first started. But if you never get your 501c3 designation, you're never going to be able to have the donations tax deductible. And I mean, there's a couple of other things which you probably won't get into here. Setting up one for foreign causes. It sometimes is very difficult because there's certain things that you have to do. We set one up a few years ago for something in some health organization in Eastern Europe, and you really have to be nimble. We got it, but you really have to be nimble when you do it to convince the IRS that it's not just going to something that's going to go down some toilet someplace. Money that people can donate.
I think it's important for people to understand, though, answer to your question, Anthony, is that individuals, part of the designation implies that you're going to be giving public service. You're going to be doing something for the community. That's why you're allowed this amazing benefit of getting money through foundations and getting direct money from people that are donating to you, and then get the tax benefit themselves. So you have to, as an individual artist, it probably is the best thing for you to do, because you actually wouldn't be eligible for a lot of those grants, because those grants are tied to the programming. I get grants from Legal Art to do this program. I can't just turn around and pay it to myself as my salary. A portion of it can go to me, but the majority of it goes to that service. So that's an important part of the designation of why a lot of people don't get the 501c3, because they haven't really shown how they're going to do some kind of community service of some kind. So,
well, when we filed for Locust, were you here when we filed?